Hello, everybody. I need to unmute y'all. Wonderful to have all you here. Okay, so I need to unmute everybody. So that we can hear everybody for right now, and then I'll go back and have y'all mute yourselves in a little bit. Hi, John. Uh-oh, let me see. I can't hear you yet. Okay, there we go. Wonderful. Good to see all of you on. I know there's some people that are going to be jumping on a little bit late. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Tina's somewhere. Hello, is that Lynn or Lynna?
Hi.
Lynna, is that right?
Lynna.
Yes. Hi, Lynn. I remember you.
Yeah,
I think. And then Lita, I thought I saw her. There she is. Let me unmute you. We'll put everybody. Hey. We'll put everybody on mute when everybody jumps on. Everybody the day before. Oh, there's Africa. Let's see. Did I forget anybody? I know some more people may be jumping on. I know that some are trying to skip out of lunch from work to jump on the call very quickly. So they'll jump on when they're able to. Well, I'm so glad to have John here today. John, are you here in Austin or are you in Chicago? Where are you today?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in Austin.
You're in Austin. All right. Good to see you. Hi, Tina. So I'm excited to have us here for our Academy call for February. We're going to be talking about a really cool topic. I always love talking about conscious relationship and specifically around the difference between a soulmate and a spirit mate that I actually had no idea about until I was talking with John about a year ago, and he had this experience and he actually met his spirit mate. So anyway, so he has some interesting things to share with us about that. Also, we're going to be kind of diving into kind of exploring this whole idea of what conscious relationship is, and am I with a soulmate or am I with a spirit mate? Does it matter? So we're going to kind of explore those topics today, and also open up this call so that if you do have questions specifically for John about something that's going on in your life, or you want to address either one of us, we're going to open up the call towards the end so that we can have some interaction and kind of do some direct work with people who are maybe needing some shifts around something having to do with relationship. And of course, it's the day before Valentine's Day, and tomorrow's my birthday. And so I always love Valentine's Day. It's always a fun day for me. So I make a big deal about it, even though it's not a holiday. Should be.
Happy birthday.
It should be
Thank
your
you.
birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Birthday to you.
That's right. So anyway, so John, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have everybody, I think most of you have played with Zoom before, but if you haven't, if you look at the bottom left corner, you should see a little microphone. So you want to just click on it and it's going to put a slash, like a red slash through your microphone, which is going to mute you for now so that we can have a clean recording. And then when we're ready to open up the lines again, then I will ask y'all to unmute. Now there's also a little video icon that says stop video. So you can click on that and it will take your actual video off. You'll still be able to hear us unless you completely disconnect from the call. You can still hear us. So that is also a thing that you can mess with. The other thing is the chat. So if you click on the little chat, it opens up a little box. At least for me, it's on my right. And you can actually send a note to me or to John if you have a question. You could also even send a specific message to someone else in the group. You just have to make sure you're choosing that person. So anyway, but what I would ask is that for our call that we kind of stay focused here instead of playing around in the chat, because it kind of gets us distracted and we want to be here now for our call. So I have set the intention that this particular gathering is going to be a gathering that really helps shift something for you, some heart thing that may need to shift for you concerning relationship with self and with others. I'm also setting the intention that you open to a higher level of consciousness. Maybe there's been an area where you just haven't been aware of, and it's kind of shut down some area in your life where relationship either isn't happening, it's not flowing well, it has its challenges in some way. So just know that there's a lot of different ways that we deal with this whole concept of relationship. So I'm just setting the intention that today you are going to receive a gift of some sort from this call and from the transmission that both John and I are going to do. And then we'll go from there and open it up to see what wants to be addressed. And know that we're going to set up the system so that anyone who has an aha epiphany, we all receive it. So I'm going to set up the group energy right now so that we're all connected in a way that if one moves, we all move. That makes transformation so much easier when we're doing things in a group. We don't have to all do it by ourselves. And that's actually the new message for this time period, is that we're not supposed to be doing things by ourselves anymore. It's too difficult. We need to actually come together in community to make shifts and changes in our lives, especially with those difficult topics that it's very hard for us to deal with on our own because we can't really see the truth because we're the only one here and we don't have any feedback. So this is going to help in that process. So what I want us all to do right now is just to get present. So just closing your eyes and just taking a slow, deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And I'm going to teach everybody a very simple mudra. Okay, so this is a heart meditation that you can do. So what you're doing is you're going to take your left hand and you're going to just kind of place it right in front of your heart, floating over your heart. So you're not going to lay the hand on the chest. You're just going to float it about 4 inches away from the heart. And then you're going to take your right hand and you're just going to put your thumb and your first finger together. This is called Gyan Mudra. And then the other 3 fingers are just straight up. And you're going to close your eyes and you're going to focus right here at the brow point. And all you're going to do is just breathe very slowly in and out of your nose. And you're just going to stay conscious with your breath, just noticing your heart, the heartbeat, slowing down your heartbeat, taking long, slow, deep breaths. This particular meditation, it's called the Calming Heart Meditation. It really brings you back to a still point in your heart. And by holding your left hand over the heart energy, it actually calms the energy of the heart. So you can always use this calming heart mudra any moment that you are maybe having a difficult time in a relationship, or you just had an argument, or you're in a tizzy about something and you're all out of sorts and maybe your heart has been hurt, or you've been offended, or you feel rejected. This is a beautiful mudra to do. It's just a stilling of the heart, a calming of the heart. It invites in peace. So when your hand is in this position, you're actually inviting in the energy of peace and receptivity. So you're calming your heart down with your left hand, and then you're calling in a receptive energy, a peaceful energy with your right hand. It's literally an energy technology when we hold our body in this position. And what you're doing is you're directing the energy. And in directing this energy, it calms the heart, stills the heart. So just notice how your heart energy is shifting right now. Where it's becoming more still, more focused, more calm. You're moving into receptivity. This is a great meditation to do maybe with your lover or your relationship partner, or even just a friend. Maybe you've had a falling out with someone and you're just needing to get back into connection. You just sit across from each other, eyes closed in this position, and it just calms everything down. And this beautiful energy is really, really stilling. It stills the heart, and it helps you to be able to put things back into perspective. And it helps you receive some possibly divine guidance about the situation. You can do it anytime for yourself. Of course, you don't do this while you're driving. Of course, you don't do this when you're needing to pay attention to something. You do this at a time when you can just get quiet and go inward. You're just allowing this energy to just still everything. And still holding that mudra, I'm just going to walk us through a very simple process just to be here now, so that whatever wants to shift in our hearts, whatever is ready to heal concerning a relationship, relationships in general, a relationship pattern, whether you're in a relationship or not, or you're wanting to be in one, or you're wanting to call in a spirit mate or a soul mate. We're just asking that the heart energy open to being receptive to whatever conscious shifts want to happen today for you. Whatever awarenesses, old belief systems, patterns in relationship, usually that belong to our early life experiences with our parents. Any of those patternings that want to release, we're asking that with ease and with grace, things shift for you in a way that puts you on the path to higher conscious relationships. Those you have now and those that you may create in the future. So we're just setting that intention. And I just want you to feel everyone in a beautiful circle of light. Feel yourself surrounded in light, in love. You can even visualize a beautiful light pink color. That's usually the color of unconditional love. You can feel that unconditional love color coming around you, coming around the group. And anything that's ready to heal right now, just know it's already happening. Many times we think our mind has to be involved in the healing process when actually that's not true. Sometimes it's our mind that blocks the healing, and we just want to relax the mind. So this mudra and this meditation just helps relax the mind so that you can stay dropped into the heart, into a place of peace, into a place of stillness, into a place of more relaxation to open to the shifts that want to happen for you today. So just taking some more long, deep, slow breaths, and then bringing yourself back into the group and just staying here present and just kind of noticing how your energy has shifted. And just notice anything you're noticing about your body. Continuing the slow, deep breathing. Just be in an awareness how you've literally shifted your heart field right now, and the energy around you has either softened or become more quiet and more peaceful and more still. And it just took a very simple mudra and meditation for this to happen. So know that this tool is available to you anytime. And we're just going to allow this beautiful energy that has just been created in the group to keep us in this place of opening our hearts to the powerful messages and shifts that want to happen today. So I just want you to set an intention right now, just an intention for today, maybe around a specific relationship, maybe it's around receiving a new relationship in your life, maybe it's around shifting a particular relationship. And it doesn't have to be a romantic one. It can be a relationship with a sibling, with a parent, with a child. So just know that when we talk about relationships, we're including all those different types of relationships, and of course the romantic ones as well. So just allowing yourself to just receive that intention in your heart and know that it's heard. It's already heard by the energy in the group. It's already heard by your higher self. It's already heard by the higher light that is here. And in that place, just let it be received. And just know that if it's meant that you do a shift right here, right now in this moment, or it's meant that later in the day or tomorrow or this month you make a shift, wonderful. This is a great month to be doing work on relationships. This is a month of what we call elevated love. We're moving into a time of higher vibration, higher harmonics. We're all feeling it. And it's really affecting relationships right now in all kinds of ways. So we're having to look at patterns within our relationships that either aren't working. We're having to look at patterns we've created in relationships that are not working. We're having to look at old patterns that were unconscious in us, and we're having to wake up to those patterns to decide if we want to keep those or not. So everything is elevating right now. That includes our relationships, our love relationships. Everything is elevating. So it'll either elevate in a positive direction and feel really great, or it'll elevate in a not so great direction and it won't feel great. But just know everything is elevating right now, that there's no exception around the world. And these higher harmonics are calling us to live in a higher place of consciousness, specifically around relationship right now. So this is a great time to actually bring this topic up. And I'm so glad John said yes to being on this call today as a guest practitioner, so we can kind of dive into this topic of, what's a spirit mate versus a soul mate, and then kind of move into this whole idea of creating conscious relationship, regardless of whether we're with a spirit mate or a soul mate, etc. So, John, I'd love for you to just do a nice introduction of your background and how you got involved in this area, and then we can kind of begin exploring this definition of spirit mate versus soulmate.
Okay, thanks for inviting me, Linda.
You're welcome.
Hi, Africa. I recognize your photo. I saw you before. So I think the story about how I got into this work is appropriate because it was 2012, and I was working in the corporate world, and I had worked for the same company for about 30 years at the time. And I felt like it was December 2012, and I felt like something needed to change in my life. And I went to Half Price Books, and I was using a pendulum at the time. And my pendulum said, you need to read the book, The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. So I bought the book and I started reading it. I remember where I was. I was in Whole Foods upstairs, and I just opened the book and I read like the first page. And I was like, wow. I was like, I could set my intention on anything. And I set my intention on love because I didn't feel like I had love in my life. I was married, I had 2 kids, but the love wasn't flowing. So that's what started this whole thing. And that's kind of why I'm here today, and it's why I'm talking about this subject of love. So I'm going to go forward. I became a life coach in 2014, and I took a course called, first of all, I became a heart math coach, which is the science of the heart. And then I took their graduate program, which is called Heart Mastery. And it was in that course that I learned something that was so valuable about relationships. And that is that everything that's happening to us in our relationships is all about us. It's not about anybody but us. It's never about the partner. And when I really finally understood it, because it took weeks for me to practice sharing with my fellow coaches about this topic, that anything that we were feeling actually was about ourselves, not about who we thought it was. And it finally clicked. And from that point on, I became responsible for me. And that's all I can be responsible for. I can't be responsible for anybody else. And so that's one thing that was really important, I think, in my relationship. So I had a few relationships. I got divorced about 2 years after I set that intention about love. And I've had a couple relationships since. And looking back at it, what I realized now is they were what this book, I'll show you, I don't know if you can see it. It's called Spirit Mates, The New Time Relationship. And this book is very skinny, but it talks about the difference between a soulmate and what they call a consciousness mate. And what happened in my life was I became paired with some consciousness mates because I was all about raising my consciousness. And sure enough, I was attracted to people who also they were about raising their consciousness. And what I realized was those relationships were really fast and furious, but they didn't last at all. But there was something really meaningful that came from it. And that's what I needed to learn, or we needed to learn. And then flash forward to October 2017, I flew into Chicago to where I grew up to visit with a good buddy who invited me to a Chicago Cubs playoff game. And I was at his house, and he said, let's go to the beach. And we walked down to the beach. It took a mile and a half. And we got down to the beach, and there were two women walking towards us. And it turns out Janet, who was my spirit mate, was walking with her childhood friend. Our two friends recognized each other. And so there was an introduction, and we talked, and we both knew. And we're still not living together, but she's moving here, we're engaged, and she'll move here in the summer. But we both knew this was completely different. And the only way I can describe it is we both were at a point in our lives where we really weren't looking to find anyone. And it didn't matter if we did or not, because I was more concerned about me, because I'd learned in this course that it doesn't matter about anybody else. All it matters is how responsible am I for my emotions and my feelings, and not projecting outward what I'm feeling. And so we both had reached that same point where we were happy with ourselves, maybe not totally in love with ourselves, but we were happy enough that we were like, okay, I don't need a relationship. And then we met, because I think that's when we were ready to have this kind of relationship, because it requires both parties to be fully responsible for their own stuff. And there was one point early on in the relationship, because I'm a coach and I like to help people, where I was offering my help. And Janet said, well, are you trying to fix me? And I said, wow, that wasn't my intention. And from that point on, we've never had that. That's never happened again. That doesn't mean that we don't ask for help, but the other one has to ask for help, as opposed to, well, let me help you. That doesn't work. So I don't know if that helps, Linda, but that's kind of a background.
Yes, wonderful. So you said that you had several consciousness mates, or would you consider those soulmates, the consciousness mates? Were those just quick little, like you said,
no, there's a
lessons?
difference.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me explain the difference between a soulmate, a consciousness mate, a twin flame, and a spirit.
Oh, perfect, because I've had several people go, what's the difference between a spirit mate and a twin flame?
Yes, there is a difference.
Okay, that's what I thought.
A soulmate is someone who is predetermined, pretty much, who your soulmate is, because we're in the soul energy. And the whole idea of having a soul is we have contracts before we come into this life as to what we're supposed to learn. And so it's already predetermined, pretty much everything. Who you're going to meet, who you're going to be with. And a soulmate's there to help reflect back to you the complete opposite of who you are. And in some ways, being with someone who's your complete opposite is actually easier than the reverse. But this is what we needed, all of us collectively needed soulmates, until the frequency, and I'm ad-libbing here, but this is my belief, that until the frequency of Earth was high enough that we could actually ask for spirit energy to come into our body so that we could have a different type of relationship where we're actually paired with our actual cell, the person who our cell was created from. That's who a spirit mate is. You are the exact match. You come from the exact same cell. This is back in the Big Bang, whenever that happened. That's when the two spirit mates were separated. So let me back up. So the soulmate is there, so you get to the point. When you meet, you're totally in love, because it's like, oh, you compliment me. I'm shy, you're outgoing, whatever, right? And then you get to the point in your personal growth where one of the two says, oh, I don't want to be stuck always just being shy and reserved. I want to grow. I want to be outgoing or whatever. And once that change is made, the relationship is just not, it's just not the same. It doesn't serve the purpose it did, which was to become conscious of what you need to embrace in yourself, to become responsible for it. I can be whatever I want to be. And so that's when the soulmate relationship doesn't serve anymore. When you say you want to change and you want to be in your own power, essentially. So then you start meeting people who are consciousness mates, because your whole growth is about being more conscious. And there might be attraction or not, but typically it's not physical attraction. It's the emotional, mental stimulus of, oh, wow, I can talk to you about anything. And we're both fascinated about the same spiritual topics. And you might have 2 or 3 or 4 of those. There's no right or wrong. But then you got to do your work. But then the key for me, and I don't know of another way to do it, but I'm not discounting that there aren't other ways. But I had an aura transformation in November of 2016. And the whole purpose of an aura transformation is to embody spirit energy. And when you do that, you lose the soul aura. The soul aura dissolves. And with that is all these contracts and all the karma that you were reincarnated with. So then you're free without that restriction to have a higher frequency relationship. And there's no doubt in my mind, had I not had an aura transformation, I would not be in this relationship. I would never have met this woman. She wouldn't have recognized me. So the twin flame is similar to a spirit mate, but the difference is it's on the soul level. So you've attracted someone who's very, very similar to you. It might not be your exact spirit mate, but you're maybe 90% there. And the only difference is you're not in a spirit energy, you're in the soul energy. And so you don't have the ability to merge in this higher frequency. But it's very close. Twin flame and spirit mate are very close. And in my opinion, this is a very limited opinion, I think the difference is aura transformation.
So, question, John. So I know a lot of people, this may be the first time they've ever heard of an aura transformation. And some of you know, I've actually had an aura transformation myself. I had one with John back last year. I think it was in March, wasn't it? It'll be a year.
I think March or April.
Yeah, it was. I think it was back
right
in
around
March.
Easter.
Or yeah.
Yeah, it was the end of March, like
End of
March 30th.
Exactly. So it's going to be already a year since I've had that aura transformation. It's wow. We'll have to have another call on that one, because that's a whole other topic. That absolutely does shift the energy around you, within you, et cetera, et cetera. So my question then, John, is, I know that from your experience, you're feeling that in order to actually be at a frequency to actually even recognize your spirit mate, you're needing to clear out this old soul aura energy out of your energy field and kind of up level your energy to this kind of spirit level energy that aura transformation creates in order to even meet a spirit mate? Or do you believe that maybe you could actually meet one without having an aura transformation?
I think you can meet without having an aura transformation, but from my experience, I don't think I would have met Janet had I not had one. I'd ask the question, but Janet has not had an aura transformation.
Yeah, exactly.
And she did recognize me in a spirit way. And the only thing I can say about that is she had a rebirth of sorts about 2 years ago with the birth of her granddaughter. And she experienced something very similar to an aura transformation. However, she still has a soul aura, but she has this crystal energy in her from her granddaughter. And it completely opened her up to a whole new level of consciousness. So that's just where we're at. I'm sure one day she'll get an aura transformation. However, that's not something I would ask her to do. It has to be something you're called to do.
Right.
But it doesn't seem to be a problem. I mean, we know we are spirit mates, and you can just tell. I mean, people that are around us, they see it, they feel it. It's a totally different vibration, and it's, quite frankly, it's a vibration that's so strong. I never want to be away from her. I mean, I would prefer to do nothing all day and just be with her than do anything else. So there is kind of, you don't want to meet your spirit mate until you kind of gotten into who you are and you're comfortable with that, because you can get lost, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And the other thing about a spirit mate is you're mirroring each other. You're the same. So anything that's not worked out, all of your unresolved stuff, well, it's going to get mirrored back to you times 10.
So it's not like a spirit mate all of a sudden, happily ever after. You're still having to do your growth. You're still having to look at yourself honestly.
That never ends.
Right.
The difference is there's this unconditional love that the only other time I've felt that was with a parent.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. So let's say that someone, so it sounds like what you're saying is that some people may need an aura transformation to really kind of move them up to this next level of frequency to be able to actually even meet a spirit mate. But then there's others, such as your significant other, who actually didn't need that. She had another experience in life that kind of uplifted her frequency so that she was ready to actually meet you. So it could be, so we actually don't even know. Each person's probably very unique and different. And you're right, if you're called to an aura transformation, you'll know it because something about that will resonate with you. And if you're not called to it, then it's probably that you don't need it. At least that's what I've been noticing.
Or
and that's what I noticed.
Or it could be the timing.
Or the timing, of course. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So let's say that you're in a soulmate relationship and you want to be in a spirit mate relationship. What about that?
Well, I would say that you set that intention. I mean, intention works.
Yes.
There is no doubt about it. I am living proof. I set an intention without knowing what a spirit mate was. That was the intention I set. I wanted to meet someone who I was very similar with, who I didn't have to have fights with, that I wouldn't have to feel like I had to walk on eggshells with, right? So it was an intention, and I didn't have any idea what a spirit mate was. And then, 2 years ago, my brother, out of the blue, and says, "Hey, I'm going to become an aura medium." Does aura transformations. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
okay.
You kind of.
I received a message that my internet was unstable.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I'm gonna offer you a chance to come get an aura transformation as a course client." I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what it was. And I said, "Oh, I'll ask my heart." And my heart said yes. And so I did it, but I still had no idea why I did it. now I know why, because I asked for this type of relationship that wasn't really feasible unless I had it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
I just was trusting my heart.
Exactly.
And I do remember, and I think I shared this with you, Linda, that when you do an aura transformation, it's really important to ask your guides for their input, and
Mm-hmm.
because they need to separate from you when you do the actual aura dissolving. And when I asked my guides, they actually were giving me a standing ovation. They're like having a party, like, yes. And so it felt so good to have that validation that it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that would be something that you would have to actually go inwards, and because it, I don't talk a lot about aura transformation. All of you know, because some of you may go, "Wow, I never knew that Linda even had that." It's because it is a real big deal. Okay, to decide to do something like an aura transformation, it isn't a little like, "Oh, I'm going to go get my chakras adjusted." No, it's a very big deal. It will change your life. It will change the trajectory of your life in a lot of ways that you have no idea about. It is a permanent shift, so you can't go backwards once you've done it. So it's not something that you take lightly. It's something that you have to sit with for a while before you decide that this is for you. And there has to be a true resonance in your heart that this is the next step for you in order for you to do that. And so I'm going to put John's information on our Academy Facebook site, so that if you do want to, at some point maybe explore with him further what AT is and whether it's something that would be right for you, you can do that. So I'll put that on the Facebook site for those that want to kind of explore that direction. However, like I said, it's not something you take lightly. It's a really big deal. It's not some simple little modality that you just go through. But it does create massive, deep healing on many levels. The first 3 months for me were pretty intense. I kind of didn't have my grounding for a while, and I kind of had to reorient and reintegrate myself in a whole nother way, perceiving the world and everything in a whole new way. So it's still in process. So it takes up to, I think, 18 months, John, to crystallize in this new energy.
It varies.
Oh, yeah.
It can take from 1 to 4 years.
Ah, okay. So 1 to 4 years. I was hoping for the 18-month mark. So anyway, but yeah, so I'm still in process with it. And I know that many things have shifted and moved since I have had this experience. But like I said, it's not a walk in the park at all. So I just want to give everybody a big heads up about that. But it can, if it's called, if you're called to do it, it will be profound for you. It really will be, but only if you're called. So anyway, but what I want to do is I want to kind of open up the lines now, John, so that we can start, have people actually open their line if they have a question or if they want to share something in the chat. Tina said, and I wanted to actually share this, that, for those of you who follow the Gene Keys with Richard Rudd, y'all know this, that he says that, one of the quickest ways to get to enlightenment is to be in a relationship and to stay in it, because it's going to trigger everything that you need to look at in order to be able to really function at the most emotionally mature level. So thank you, Tina, for mentioning that. So, we're not in any way, saying you need to leave your soulmate and find your spirit mate. We're not saying that. We're just saying that it's for you to really explore in your heart what is the next step for you that is in alignment. So one thing that to remember is that, as John was saying, everything that you experience in a relationship or not in a relationship has to do with what is in your energy field, what's in your force field that you've created through your thoughts, your beliefs, even your unconscious experiences you've had, the patterning you've been imprinted with concerning your family. All of that kind of creates the energetic, okay, that then attracts certain types of soulmates, consciousness mates, etc., into your energy field. So it's important that you really dive into a deeper, contemplation, loving contemplation of the relationships you have in your life right now? What are the patterns that you keep seeing that maybe for you tend to create, let's say, a problem or a challenge or an issue? Because those particular patterns, that person that you're in relationship with, whether it's a romantic partner or a family member, the pattern that you're seeing that's triggering you is something in you that you're usually denying. It's usually a shadow aspect of yourself or some part of yourself that maybe belong to your family system that you're holding in your energy field, and it's attracting this kind of behavior, etc., from that other person, so that you can look at it and go, oh, that's somewhere in my energy field. That's why I'm attracting it. It's law of attraction. Can't get around that. What is it that I'm denying? What is it that I'm not looking at? What is it that I'm not embracing as, oh yeah, that's an aspect of me? Where am I, pushing that away and wanting to stay the victim and keep blaming? Because as long as you stay in that energy, you will keep attracting it. Even if you trade partners and find someone else, you'll attract it. And even
Right.
as John was saying, even in a spirit mate relationship, the stuff you haven't worked on, it's going to amplify 10 times with your spirit mate until you look at it and do something about it. So this
Yeah.
is an important thing to just remember if you are struggling specifically with a situation with a relationship, or maybe you really want to open to relationship. Maybe you're in a real clear conscious place that you want a relationship, but it hasn't been happening. And in that case, again, you have to really dive deep and look at where are those unconscious, subconscious patterns. And it's just a matter of just asking, do I have a subconscious pattern here that I say I want, a soulmate or a spirit mate, but then no one shows up? What's that about? And diving deeper into yourself about it. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of explore this without making the other person you're in the relationship with, without making them wrong, without making them the wrong one, or I'm with the wrong person, or I made a mistake. You don't want to really go there because that doesn't serve you or that person. Clearly, you're in whatever you're in right now for a reason. It has gifts to give you. And once you receive those gifts, you can be ready to maybe open to something different. Let's see here. Africa said, okay, so Africa has a question. She says she got lost a little bit between the twin flame and spirit mate. She didn't hear the distinction. So
Yeah.
John, from what I understood, you said a twin flame is where you're connected at a soul level, and a spirit mate is where you're connected at a higher spirit energy level. And that's really the only difference. It's just a frequency difference.
Yeah. And so that at the soul level, you still have the soul aura, which
Okay.
includes all of the karma and the ancestry, the reincarnation stuff that you bring with you. And it's not that the aura transformation gets rid of all of that, but it gets rid of the kind of the destiny that the karma brings with it. Like, no, you're just going to be with, these two partners this life. That's what you signed up for. When that soul aura dissolves, all of those contracts go with it. So you have this ability to kind of have more free will than you did in the soul aura. And so that allows you to download this higher frequency. And then you are going to a spirit level where you're experiencing a higher frequency relationship, which is a higher frequency of love. Does that make sense, Africa?
And then Katie also, I'm just reading the chat here. So there's some great stuff here. Oh, so Katie says that there's other teachers like Patricia Cota-Robles who says that we don't share souls with each other. So the twin flame idea is false. Those who believe that a twin flame is you're sharing the same soul. And so Katie's asking, what do you or I think about that? So John, do you have a thought about that? Some people define twin flame as it's the same soul. I don't know if that's how you define twin flame.
I don't know exactly if a twin flame is meant to be coming from the same spirit cell, which is what a spirit mate is. I don't know, but from my understanding, the only difference is the soul aura, or then soul energy that comes with the soul aura, and the spirit energy. So to answer the question, can you have a spiritual awakening without an aura transformation? Absolutely, you can. We are all going through a process of awakening at the same time, all of us. And the only reason that aura transformation is valuable to some is they don't want to wait. They would rather have that experience and get it over with, as opposed to just doing it with whatever tools they have. But it's happening to all of us. Eventually, none of us will have a soul aura. And right now it's taking, in some cases, I think it's taking like 20 years for the soul aura to dissolve. And what aura transformation does, it does it in 3 hours. So no, you don't have to at all. But there are other ways of doing it. I don't know what those are other than waiting for it to happen.
Let's see here. So then the question about the twin flame. So whether the twin flame shares the same soul. I'm kind of in agreement with Patricia Calder-Robles, Katie, that that each person has their own individual soul created by divine. And that this whole idea of the twin flame is that their souls were created at the same time. So that's how I understand the definition of a twin flame, is the souls were created at the same time. They're part of the same soul family. So that's why there's that similarity. So I personally don't think they share the same soul. So I kind of agree with Patricia. And then there was another question here about meeting the other half. So let's see here. Let's see here. Lena asked a question. She said, can both a soulmate and a spirit mate abide together? Can you meet both your soulmate, a soulmate and a spirit mate? And can you have a relationship with both? I mean, I guess that's what you're asking, Lena? Okay.
At the same time?
Okay, I think she's saying yes. Yeah. And if Linda,
your question, can they be both?
Yeah. You can unmute yourself and then share. I'm going to unmute you. There you are.
Okay. This is a tricky one for me. So what I feel like I have a soulmate, a beloved. Do you think a soulmate and a beloved are the same thing, first of all?
They can be.
Okay. I've also met my twin flame, but when our fires come together, it's almost destructible. So I no longer have that relationship. I still feel that, but I'm not in a relationship. But so the idea of, because you had mentioned, I was taking notes, this soulmate is everything's kind of predetermined, but it helps to reflect back to you the complete opposite of who you are. And I feel that I have that right now. But then you mentioned that it comes to a point where we both had spiritual awakenings. We did it the hard and long way. And so now we are in this conflict. It's this conflict that we feel like there's something more for us, and we're kind of at a loss, honestly, because we feel like we should be together, but there's something more calling us. And so it sort of freaks me out that I would have to let go of that soulmate to find a spirit mate.
Yeah. It's possible. It's possible that you could have a spirit mate as a soulmate, but you're not going to experience that divine love aspect until you're able to individually deal with whatever it is that's causing that conflict.
Mm-hmm.
because the conflict is just there to help you, both of you, to see a part of you that's unconscious. That's the only reason the conflict is there. But if you know, I would say, if you know in your heart that there's unconditional love for this partner, trust that. That's everything. That's all you want. And whatever you're going to go through, it doesn't matter, because you're going to unconditionally love each other. That's what really a spirit mate is. You know that whatever the other needs to do is perfectly fine, because you completely trust them. You can share anything with them, and there's no ounce of you that is a lack of commitment. You're totally in, 100%. You couldn't even imagine not being together. You can't separate a spirit mate. It's like physically impossible. The spirit energies have to be together once they meet. So to me, it sounds like, and this is what my heart feels, that you might just both need to work on raising your frequency so that you can meet at a higher frequency, and you can experience this level of what I call heart communication, where there is no projection. It's totally just being open about, here's how I feel. It goes directly from your heart into their heart. There's no defenses. And that's where I think the heart energy just takes over, and it's magical. So, and this holds true for anyone. If you just practice communicating what your heart is feeling, you don't need protection. That your heart is your protection, because it's radiating this love, and the message goes straight into the other person's heart. There's no mind activity. It's just heart to heart.
So I have a question for that. So we believe we're very divinely connected. So how does that, this might be a whole other conversation. I don't want to take
No, please.
Time at all. But how does that affect the sexual attraction, the passion? And what if it's with our spiritual awakenings, we have everything but that?
Okay, well, that is a big sign, because a spirit mate, the sexual attraction is incredibly intense.
Yeah.
And that needs to be that way, because that's how your energies merge together, is through sex. So if there isn't a incredible sexual attraction, then it's not a spirit mate. It could be that what's happened is you've evolved from soulmates to consciousness mates, where you're actually there to support each other in raising your consciousness. That feels right to me.
Okay, thank you.
Linda, what do you feel?
Well, right now, so this is actually not just for you, Linda, but it's for the whole group. There's an energetic actually moving through the whole group right now. So thank you, Linda, for being part of that impetus to get this energy moving for the group. So what's happening is that, and this is a general answer, but also it relates to you as well, Linda. We're all of us who are in relationship right now, we are all feeling these shifts in frequency, and the people that we're in relationship with, they have to make choices either with us or not. And either they make these shifts with us to move into these higher states of, soulmate, consciousness mate, spirit mate, or they don't. So we have to continue moving forward with our heart fully open, not blaming the other person, just saying, okay, spirit, because, I've had the aura transformation. I'm still with the guy, my soulmate. He's not my spirit mate. I know very clearly he's not my spirit mate, but he is my soulmate. He's definitely very opposite me. And, it's been a year since my aura transformation. I'm still with him. And I always set the intention. I said, okay, spirit, if I still have things that I have to learn with my soulmate, then let it be. I just let it be what it is. And I just allow my personal growth to keep happening. I'm not going to let him or anybody stop my personal growth. I keep letting it move forward. I don't dwell on him anymore like I was before. So since the aura transformation, it's like I allow him to have his path and what he's working through, and I focus on mine, and we stay conscious. I keep allowing the triggers to show up so that I can go inward and look at them and do my own personal healing. So massive growth has happened in my personal relationship since I set that intention. I just have the attitude of, we're just going to let this continue moving and seeing what needs to heal, what I need to keep looking at, what consciousness level I need to continue working at. And then, if it is meant at some point, if I'm finally complete with what I need to be complete with him, because clearly there was a soul contract with he and I to really work through a lot of things that we both need to work through, that it's just literally perfect that he and I are together, because he triggers exactly what I need to work on, and I trigger exactly what he needs to work on. So it's been really divine. And so I've learned so much. I keep growing with it. So as long as I continue to grow with the soulmate relationship, it's going to stay until it's complete. And those, again, who follow the gene keys, Richard Rudd talks about this in the Venus sequence. Okay, so in the Venus sequence, he says, once two souls have completed their journey together, there's an attractor field that just releases. It just releases. And at that point, you're complete with your contract with that soulmate, and you're free to do whatever the next thing is that you need to be doing. So you have to look, Lynna, specifically at your situation, is that, are y'all staying together out of consciousness because you're still learning a lot with each other, you're still growing, or are you staying out of codependence and attachment? I see that pattern a lot. And so a lot of times what we call something else is actually just a fear and a codependency pattern, and an unhealthy attachment pattern that isn't serving either one. And it's kind of making both people swirl down into an abyss that is harmful, where you both start really hurting each other and building lots of resentment. So you have to kind of honestly look, is even if the energy of the relationship isn't perfect, which it won't be with a soulmate, not even a spirit mate, but are you still growing? Are you still awakening? Are you still having, these aha moments? And of course, it sounds, I can even feel it. You have a beautiful heart connection with this person. And so it doesn't mean, in the old way, okay, so before conscious relationship even existed, in the old way, it was you have to somehow make the other person wrong and cut them off, and, we can't talk anymore. That was the old way. That was the Piscean age. In the Aquarian age, we can continue to have loving relationships with people, respectful, kind, connected, warm relationships with people, and at the same time continue to explore for ourselves personally the next level of our growth. So it sounds like, Lynna, you're being pushed to really explore a deeper level of your own heart and your own growth, and what is the next level of desire that your heart has in relationship. And you have to give yourself permission to explore that and be honest with your consciousness mate, your soulmate, that you're wanting to move forward with this. And is he willing to do that with you? Or is it best that you both consciously make another decision? It's about a conscious, mature, emotional conversation. It's not about making each or the other wrong. And this is true of everybody. So if you're thinking that, wow, my relationship right now is having some issues, it's about literally going into a really conscious, emotional space and having that conversation in a very grounded place about, let's explore this further. Is it meant for us to continue? and figure this out? Is it a karmic thing that we have to figure out around our personal relationship, our sexual relationship? Or is this just a sign that it's time for us to really step beyond our fears into the next level of exploration in our relationships? So it really is, it's clearly a very deeply personal thing for each person, what they decide. It's not a right or wrong, or, oh, you should leave your soulmate and find your spirit mate. No, this is really, like I said, I'm still with my soulmate, even though I've had an aura transformation. We are definitely very opposite, but in many ways, I'm still doing growth with him. So it will continue until that attractor field releases. And when that attractor field releases, then that'll be the sign that it's time for he and I to both move on, and we'll both know it. That's the other thing that Richard Rudd talks about in the Gene Keys, is that when that attractor field releases, both people can sense it. They'll kind of like know. Now, it doesn't mean your fear and your codependency won't get triggered, okay? So you have to really start looking at, is this really a codependency pattern? Is this really just an unhealthy attachment because I'm fearing the unknown? What if I don't meet my spirit mate? Like, are you doing those kinds of things with yourself? Because that also is not in alignment. That's not healthy either. It's for you to really be in a conscious place to say, yes, it's time for this relationship to transform into something else, maybe a deep, close friendship, at the same time that I consciously explore the next level relationship that I am desiring, that my heart is calling me to. So I'm feeling that this is kind of a consciousness shift that is happening, not just for us on the call, but it's happening for the collective right now. This is why these things are up for us, so that we can actually look deeper. We can look at it from a pattern so different from how people did it in the past, where, okay, we're not the same anymore. We don't have the same things. Let's just divorce and screw you. And, I take this, you take that. That's not the direction conscious relationship wants to go. It really is, let's continue to have heart conversation. Let's continue to really share, as John says, our deep, honest feelings. Like, really be honest with whoever you're with. Share that. Now, they're going to have their reactions, and you have to let them have their reactions, whatever that might be, because that's theirs for them to deal with, as long as you share it from a place of heart and groundedness. And it really is about looking at where in you might you be holding on to a pattern that may be keeping both of you from moving to the next level. So it may be that you're afraid to move to that next level of spirit connection, because what would that mean? It's unknown. This is more comfortable to me, so I'm just going to stay here. So there's a lot of different reasons why we stay in certain patterns in relationship. So we have to be willing to dive in, really dive in, get so honest and dive into ourselves and go, wow, was there a pattern like this with my parents? Did my parents have a pattern like this? Might I be repeating a pattern that came from my own family system? Did my grandparents have a pattern like this? So it's about literally even going backwards and looking at the patterns within your own family system and seeing, does your pattern match some patterns in your family system? Because if so, those can be cleared, those can be released. You can actually go, oh yeah, I'm repeating a pattern of mom and dad, interesting, or I'm repeating the pattern between stepdad and mom, or between stepmom and dad, or whatever that dynamic might have been in the family. And sometimes we repeat those patterns and hold those patterns because it's what we knew. And it's also a way that we stay loyal and connected to the tribe of our family. But it doesn't serve when we're moving into conscious relationship. In conscious relationship, we really have to liberate ourselves from these old patterns of family, honor that was our origin, and honor what they went through, and at the same time be willing to let it go too. So these are all possibilities that you can explore, Lena, but really I just feel it's just go deeper into the heart, really seeing, is this more of a fear pattern that's keeping both of you from moving forward? Or is this just a pattern you both need to look at because it's karmic? And once you both look at the karmic pattern, you can release it and you keep moving forward and a new level of your relationship opens up. So there's a lot of possibility there, Lena. So I'm hearing, don't pick one particular direction, explore it further. And well, literally, you don't have to choose it. It will unfold for you. It'll just be there. It just shows up on the table. So this is another thing. We think we have to control the direction of relationship. And that is absolutely not a conscious relationship. To attempt to control the direction of a relationship yeah, you'll have some karmic kickback from that one. So you really want to be in a place where you're like, you know what, I'm going to keep staying in alignment, keeping my heart open, keep forgiving myself, looking at the patterns within myself, stop blaming the other person, and let's see what unfolds. So you want to actually walk into conscious relationship with curiosity. You want to walk into conscious relationship with this kind of like explorer, adventurer attitude versus, oh my God, what am I going to find? Instead go, wow, this is an adventure. I don't know what I'm going to find. I'm going to be curious. And you just keep opening and expanding the heart. Keep opening and expanding to possibilities that right now you probably have no idea about. So there's possibilities for you and your soulmate that are, you know, beyond anything you can even imagine right now. And know that it is not meant for everyone in this lifetime to meet their spirit mate. It's just not, you know, it just isn't. And so we have to be in a place where we allow things to unfold as they unfold. And you can just set the intention. Okay, like John did that day in 2012 when he was at the Whole Foods, he set the intention for love. You can set an intention. If your intention is, okay, you know, spirit, if it's meant for me to meet my spirit mate in this lifetime, I say yes. And you allow it, you show me how it will unfold, and I will be present to it and allow it to unfold, and I'll work on the things that get triggered in the process. So you can just literally just set that intention and just kind of make it easier instead of attempting to kind of control a possible outcome. You don't want to do that. You want to keep allowing this situation with your soulmate to keep unfolding and looking at what the stuckness might be, what the pattern is you're both mirroring to each other. Work on that little tiny micro thing first and see how it moves, and then go from there. So does that make sense, Lena? Okay. And John, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to show off the new book about spirit mates.
Oh, yes.
And it came out February 1st.
Brand new.
And I'm almost done reading it. It's really amazing. It's an amazing book. I highly recommend it if this whole concept of a spirit mate resonates with you. It's written by Annie and Karsten Senoff. It took them, I don't know how many years to write this book, but there's 10 stories of spirit mate couples, and each have their own twist. And one of the stories is about a soulmate relationship that became a spirit mate relationship. And it kind of shares, you know, what's really going on between the two, because they're at the soul level, there are certain restrictions because of these contracts. And anyhow, it's possible to have a soulmate relationship that is possible to become a spirit mate. Mm-hmm. But of course, they're all not like that. So anything is possible. Highly recommend it. You can do it, buy it on Amazon. And thanks for having me. This is my favorite topic to talk about.
So let's see here. I was going to make sure I didn't miss other questions that people had in the chat. Is there other things coming up? I know there's some of you that may not be in a relationship right now, but you're wanting one. So, so John, let's say somebody's not in a relationship, but maybe they are wanting a relationship. Should they just go all the way for the spirit mate, or should they just kind of surrender to what shows up?
Well, it depends on what you want, right? If you've been in relationships that have not satisfied you and you want something different, then all of my training in this profession of coaching has taught me dream as big as you possibly can. Why not? What's the risk in dreaming big? So I would say, yeah, go for it. But know that intention is going to create it is going to lead you to wherever you need to go so that you can be in a position, whether it's 2, 3, 4, or tomorrow, it doesn't matter, then you'll meet, it'll happen. Intention works, but you can't control it, and you don't want to control it.
Right.
And in my case, it took about 4 years for that intention. Even though I met some people prior, and I thought in one case, yeah, this might be the one, but it wasn't. I knew in about a month. I had to go through that. And I know exactly the lessons I learned looking back. And I can see now, oh yeah, I guess I needed that. I needed to go through it. At the time, I was like, what the hell? Right? Why is this happening? Because I was stuck in this victim mentality, which Richard Rudd describes so well in that 55th gene key.
Yes.
And that 22nd gene key, let me tell you, that gene key is all about aura transformation.
Yes. Grace. That's what I'm wearing. Grace. That's my favorite gene key 22 and 55. They're actual programming partners. So yeah.
Yes.
And those of you who don't know about gene keys, I'll put something on the Academy link for y'all if y'all want to explore that further. So I still want to keep this open. Does anybody have anything else? Maybe a topic we haven't talked about. Maybe it's not about spirit mate, soulmate. Maybe it's something that's more kind of micro about a specific relationship right now and you're needing a tool.
Can I recommend something?
Yeah, go ahead.
You could ask somebody for their ideas. But I'd like to practice this heartfelt communication. Because to me, that's the most important thing you can work on. And it's best to practice it before you actually do it with a partner.
Yes.
So if anyone has a specific, this is what's bugging me about my relationship, I would like to practice heartfelt communication with you, or Linda, if you want to do it. So you understand how it feels. And you can go back into that space and do it again and practice with your friends. Have a buddy or a gal that you can practice this with. The more you practice, the more you'll realize love is all around you. You just have to be here, and you have to practice speaking from the heart. Does anyone want to try it?
Well, Tina, you just mentioned something that you feel like you're in a higher vibration, and then you come back to your partner and you want to practice heart communication, but it doesn't happen, or something like that. Did you want to practice this tool that John wants to share with us? It's up to you. You don't have to. Yes, I would. Okay, so let's unmute Tina. Okay, so John, do you see Tina up there?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Tina.
Yeah, and I've been really aware that it's working on myself is the primary piece, and so that is my goal. That's my intention, is to continue to do that more than anything else But I notice that sometimes when I'm coming back from a place where I feel like I have more room and more of my vibration is going at a level that feels really great for me, and then I'm coming to situations with people who are not at that vibration and without judgment, but I have this feeling of not wanting to contract or control or anything, but trying to understand and learn most from that, and to become more gentle and surrender and soft. So whatever tool you have would be great.
Well, that's a great example. So what I would, do you mind if we just do this right now?
Yeah, sure.
So can you ask for that feeling of contraction, or that you feel when you are around? Is you're around a certain person?
A few different people.
Yeah. So can you imagine the person that gives you that feeling the most, and allow that constriction to come into your heart?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want you to feel it. and observe. And you might even ask to just love it. Just pretend it's like your little child self, and you want to love it like you would a mother loving your daughter, but it's you. And ask whatever comes to you. Do you see something? Does it want to express itself?
I think it's what I have seen is, and I speak for myself only, but I also see it in the world where someone wants to go look for something outside of them because of this longing. And for me, it was not being seen fully growing up, and the vastness of my gifts and my, and knowing that that was also my purpose is to share that, but not being fully seen. And making peace with the fact that those I was growing with could never see that and maybe never will. And can I still love them in a deeper way? Can this idea of love be bigger than what I even can conceptualize? But there is this grief as a child of no one really saw me, and that I know that before I came here, people saw me. They could see all of me, and I just want to be where I'm fully seen in the body now too. And so I'm really understanding that's where it's coming from. It's really wanting that, but also not knowing that when I'm comparing that I get it here, but I don't get it here. That's still ego, that's not really the full love that I want to express too. It's just that, there's a trap there. So, but feeling stuck in all of that, because I feel the grief of that, and yet I, want to have all of this, and so, and then I just, feel stuck. So.
Yeah. So I thanks for sharing, because I want to share what my heart feels, and it feels like, well, first of all, I see you. I actually see you as you're wanting to be seen. That's how I see you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know fully, I can tell you know fully what you're capable of, because you have experienced that, whether it's in this life or other. There's times when you are like, this is
I've
me.
always known.
You've
what
always
that felt
known it.
like.
And
So
I
that's
can
the
feel
part
that.
that's hard, is that even as a kid, I knew this is
Yeah.
not the full experience, and
Yeah.
yet I chose to be in this.
Yeah. So I want you to know that my heart sees that. It does. And it feels really good. And that's who you are.
But I'm also someone who is to love where I'm not seen. And that's another level of love that my heart and soul want to express in the world. And it's a different love. And it's also really important that I learn this before I move on. And I know I'm still learning.
We all are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like you're very ready to set an intention for what you want. If you haven't already. Sounds like you already have.
I think I just said it without realizing it right now. So,
yeah, I think you have too.
Yeah.
And
Which actually felt good to say that, because I know that
yeah.
somehow, as you know, when you say something out loud, it helps things to move.
Yes.
So yeah.
And we're all witnessing, Tina. So we're all here with you.
Thank you.
Because we all want to be seen on some level by our partners, our soulmate, our spirit mate, people, the ones we love, the ones we want to have love us. So this is actually for all of us. We all want to be seen as the true light that we are.
But it's
And
a process, and I know it's a
is.
process, and that it also means, I don't want to say sublimate, because that was an old process that the mystics and all did. They just kind of, went through that. But I think there is a level of, we're letting go of, I have to have it this way. And so that means it opens up your mind. It goes beyond the mind. You can't even conceptualize what this can look like. And so there's a sense of walking into new territory. How do you do that in the body is a very different than what a mystic did maybe in the 1500s.
Yeah. So I have one suggestion, and I don't know if Linda, is it okay if I offer maybe a tool for you?
Yeah, go for it. Sure.
Okay. So my heart is telling me, I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Tina.
Tina. My heart's telling me that it would be awesome for you to witness yourself seeing the part of you that it's not being seen. Okay?
Say
Does
that
that make
again.
sense? So what I want to do is walk you through a process where you're going to see yourself the way you want to be seen by others. Okay? So close your eyes, if you're okay with this, and ask for you to receive the frequency that's your highest, best frequency for you to see yourself with the unconditional love that you want others to see you. And ask for this frequency to come in right now into your body.
So I've been denying that, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I don't know what I'm saying other than this tool will help.
I invite it in.
Okay. Allow that frequency to come into your body.
And everyone on the call can actually do the same thing, calling in this higher frequency of yourself.
Yeah. It's coming from love intelligence. Just ask the highest divine source of love intelligence to send you a frequency that you need to see yourself the way you want to be seen by others. And this frequency is coming. It's not an option. You asked for it, it's coming. And allow it to penetrate your cells. Do you feel it? It's a higher vibration, right? Now ask your heart, where can you put your hands so that that frequency goes from your hands right where it needs to go? And what you're doing now is you're healing yourself with this frequency. So you can see yourself the way you want to be seen. And as you do this, close your eyes, and I want you to look at yourself and tell me what you see.
I see myself as a young child glowing in a way that she wanted to glow.
Yeah. That's who you are.
There's more contentment.
You're smiling.
Yep. She's glowing with gold all around her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like some unconscious level that I was abandoning myself, but I didn't know how to do it. But it wasn't intentional, but it was there. It was,
Forgive yourself for
yeah,
that.
yeah,
We all need to forgive ourselves for everything.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And this process that you're going through right now will help you so that others start seeing you the same way. And it's all because of what you're doing with yourself.
Right.
You're treating yourself the way you want others to treat you,
Mm.
with compassion and love.
And tenderness.
And no one else can actually do that for you but you. And when you do it, it's going to be reflected back to you by your spirit mate.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've learned how to do this. They've had to learn how to do this too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want. You don't want to have to drag someone to love you. You want them to love themselves enough that it's just like we both love ourselves. And we can have fun and play.
Mm-hmm. Feels good.
Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Feels good to me.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Because I had no idea.
I'm grateful.
This
Yeah.
is the first time I've ever done this exercise.
Well, I hope others felt it too. Yeah.
So if there's a frequency that we want to feel in ourselves, like for instance, with Tina, it was about her needing to really feel herself seeing herself, because that's what she's wanting from others. So if there's something you're specifically wanting from others, so going back to what Linda was thinking, she really wants a more passion in her relationship with her soulmate, something that's filled with fire. You have to invite that frequency in so that you're emanating it, so that it actually then gets reflected back to you from the people that you're around. So if there's a frequency you're denying, you're thinking it needs to come from the outside, then that's part of the problem, because it's never going to come from the outside. You can keep wishing forever and you'll always get sorry representations of it, versus you coming inward and going, okay, what am I really deeply wanting in relationship that I feel I don't have right now? Well, it's something you're not giving yourself. It sounds like it's a frequency you're not emanating. It's a frequency you haven't invited in, or you're blocking for some reason unconsciously, etc. That's keeping you from actually experiencing that thing it is that you want. Does that make sense? John, is kind of like what you're saying? It's like you're inviting in the frequency that you've been denying?
Yeah, it's yes. In what it is, it's more of a it's a level of consciousness. Because when we're unconscious of why we're suffering, then what we do, because we're in that 55th gene key shadow, we don't see broad enough. We're either going within and we're blaming ourselves, or there's something wrong with me, or we're projecting onto someone else and blaming them. That's what we do in the shadow. Mm-hmm. But when we're above the shadow, we can see, oh, it's just a perception problem. I'm just not treating myself the way I want to be treated. And of course, others are going to treat me differently if I treat myself differently. Because they're just doing their unconscious stuff. They're just reflecting. Nobody's consciously intention. They're just pure mirrors. Mm-hmm. And yes, we are unconscious when we're being kind of bad towards ourselves, because that's why it's in our shadow. We're just not aware of it. That's why our frequency matters. It does matter. And the more things you can do to raise your frequency, the better. Just asking, what do I need? Highest divine source of love intelligence. What frequency do I need today? Mm-hmm. Bring it on. Let me feel it. Let me put my hands on my body, and just like Jesus would do, it was just like, the collective consciousness, he healed through having it wash over his body, because his body was this high frequency of love. And that's what we have the capability of doing. He taught us how to do it. He showed us it's possible. We have so much power by accepting these powerful frequencies. And there's nothing wrong that will ever happen other than we'll feel good. So yeah, explore your power. You know you're so powerful. It's just there, it's waiting. And love is all around us. The minute you love yourself, you're going to see it all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I know Patricia Cota Robles, those who follow her, you can go to eraofpeace. I think it's calm. And she just put up a vlog, a video blog around, a previous one about loving self and about how every relationship is a mirror, and that whatever's showing up in our relationships is really what's going on in our energy field. And so we have to literally shift our own self-image in order for that person or whatever's showing up to shift. So it's about really looking honestly at what we're creating in our own frequency, energy field, and shifting it into something higher, as John was saying, in order to invite in a different aspect of that same person. So it may not be that you call in a different person into your life. It may be that you're calling in a new energetic of the same person. So I keep experiencing that personally in my own personal growth. I notice that when I make a leap energetically in my own relationship to self, or I clear some massive block in my life that's either in some way creating some kind of tension in relationship, I notice my relationship shifts. It's like all of a sudden he's a different person. And it's like, he didn't really change. I changed in my energy field. So now I perceive him differently. And I'm not triggering that old behavior in him, so that behavior goes away. So,
well, he's not reflecting it back to you anymore.
Exactly, because it's gone. I've cleared it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're completely 100% responsible for our reality field and and how people behave in our reality field. In fact, Abraham Hicks, the woman who channels the energy that's called Abraham, she actually was talking, you can find her on YouTube. She talks about how you meet someone, and she had this really hilarious statement. She goes, "Hi, great to meet you. You're going to behave in the way that my energy tells you to." So she basically is saying that, when someone comes into your energy field, you're telling them how to behave and be in your energy field based on your frequency, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not. And the issue is most of the things that we're not aware of are what the problem is. It's where we're unconscious. It's where we're subconsciously doing things. It's where we're not looking at these deeper patterns, and they're like, whoop, going right over our head. And then someone's behaving or acting in a certain way, and we're like, what is that about? And it's about us. It's about some part of us that's not conscious, that's creating that behavior, that mirror in our field. And this can be a mirror that comes from your boss. It could come from a stranger in a store. I mean, it could come from anywhere. So it's about you going back inward and going, I'm creating some kind of energy vibration here in my field that's making this person behave this way or not behave in the way I would like. And so then you're in full control to go deep in and go, okay, what do I need to shift inside me that's going to allow this person to behave in a different way with me? So
Right.
In some ways, we block what we actually want. As humans, one of the biggest patterns I see over and over again with me, with everyone, is that we say we want this, but our energetic unconsciousness is doing the complete opposite. And you're like, but I do want that. And like, well, no, you don't, because if you did, you would have it by now. So it's about you looking at what is it somewhere unconsciously that you're not even aware of, a pattern you're playing that's actually pushing away what you actually desire. Now, granted, there is a caveat here. Divine protects us. So there are certain things that we may ask for and ask for and ask for year after year after year after year for decades, and it never shows up. Okay, so if you're in a situation like that, where you've been asking for decades for a specific thing and it's never shown up, Sometimes, and this has come through in spirit through when I ask this question, sometimes it's because you're being protected from something your ego is asking for that would not serve your soul, your higher self, and those around you. So you have to ask yourself, who's asking? Is it my ego or is it my higher self asking? Because if your ego is asking and it's not in alignment, you won't get it because it could harm you. Or you might get it and you'll learn a lesson and that won't be very pleasant. So you have to ask, who's asking? Who's asking for what I'm asking for? Is it my lower ego asking because me, immature me wants this? Or is my higher self heart wisdom asking? So you first have to ask who's asking. And if it's your ego and it's not happening, good, because more than likely that could end up in something unpleasant. If your higher self is asking and you're in alignment with that, then you have to go, where am I not letting? Where's my ego or some other part of me not letting me have this higher alignment? What's that about? And usually it comes down to several things. Unworthiness, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable enough, I don't deserve it. Usually it comes down to those. And then underneath all of that is the fear that that's true. So even underneath all of that is the fear. So it's about really looking at those deeper aspects of your relationship with self. Where do you believe you're not worth it? Where do you believe you're not enough? Where do you believe you don't deserve it? Where do you believe you're unworthy? Where do you believe you don't deserve, this level of love or experience? And more than likely, it was a message sent to you by your family system that said, you weren't enough, you don't deserve that, you don't need that. Why are you asking for that? Usually there'll be some path you follow back in your family system where that's been a pattern for you, your mother, your father, etc. It was something that was either said or unsaid that got imprinted in, and that's actually the block right there. So when you notice, oh, this pattern comes from, my mother, she always denied herself. Well, more than likely you're doing that too on some level. And so then you have to look at, where am I denying myself? So I give back to my mother what belongs to her, and I look at honestly where I'm denying myself and opening up to receive what's in divine alignment for me. So a way that you can kind of protect yourself when you're asking for things is you say, okay, I'm asking from the place of the highest self that I'm aware of, and I ask that if it is an alignment for me, if it's an alignment that I leave this soulmate and I invite in a spirit mate, and it is in full alignment, I say yes and I receive it. And only if it's an alignment for the highest. So you kind of set an intention that it's only going to shift and change if it's really best for you and for the other people involved. Sometimes it is best for us to leave a soulmate because we're actually both not growing. I've seen this in several patterns with other clients I've worked with. They're both stuck in this place where neither person is growing. Nobody's moving. They're both holding each other back. And what needs to happen is they both need to release out the codependency so that they can both honor each other's freedom to start growing in the directions that they both need to grow in. So this is where we have to really ask from that highest place, saying, am I holding not just myself back, but am I holding my soulmate back or my partner back by choosing to stay here out of fear, out of what's not true? And sometimes the answer is yes, you're doing this out of fear and it's time to move on. And then sometimes it's like, no, you still got lessons to learn. Keep going. So it's about you really tuning in and asking and seeing who's asking first, making sure it's that higher self and that it's in alignment. And then with intention, you invite in spirit to say, okay, if this is the highest for me, in whatever way I need to release out my soulmate, that will be in respect and kindness and love, so that then I can open to my spirit mate. I say, yes, spirit, show me. I don't know what to do next. And then you do a surrender process. And then you surrender and you just let it unfold. You don't try to control it. So in the end, we don't really have to do much other than to stay conscious about our own patterns and really just stop blaming the outside world.
In ourselves.
Yeah, for what's going on. So there really is just some simple things. If we do those, life will begin to unfold. And yes, Susan said shame, absolutely, shame too. We have to not just let go of the ways that we have blamed ourselves. But as we know from the work that Brene Brown has done, shame is one of the lowest vibrations on the planet. And if you hold shame in your energy field around anything, but specifically around relationships or relationships of your past, you feel ashamed about how you behaved or decisions you made or whatever that might have been, that is a very important thing to look at. You really have to look at where you are shaming yourself or shaming the other person, and being willing to drop into your heart and release that, forgive, let that go. Shame has no place in anyone's energy field. It is truly a very dark, heavy, heavy energy that really blocks true love, true joy, your true freedom, and your expression as a soul. So shame is definitely a key thing to look at if you're noticing that in your energy field. You're just like, you literally like look at it. You ask where it's showing up in your body. So there's a very simple tool you can do. Just like, okay, where is the shame showing up in my body? And kind of feel where it is. And then imagine that it steps out of your body and it stands in front of you. And you're going to have a conversation with that shame. You're going to say hello to that shame. You're going to tell that shame, I see you. Do you have a message for me? And then have that conversation, and then ask the shame, who do you belong to? And more than likely, that shame probably doesn't all belong to you. It may not belong to you at all, actually. And if it says, oh, I don't belong to you, then I give you permission to return to where you came from. And then you let the energy release. And if it stays, it may be because it has some messages for you, and say, okay, what messages do you have for me? What do you need to say to me? What do I need to say to you so that you can release and go back to your origins? So shame is a consciousness. It's an energy. You can talk to it like you would a person. In fact, anything with a name you can talk to. So you can talk to it and ask it what its messages are, and then ask it what it needs from you so that it can go. And then that can release the shame without you feeling more shame. You don't want to feel shame about the shame. You don't want to put yourself into a more constricted place about it. You want to expand open and have an open, loving heart conversation with that energy. And by doing that, it will dissolve within minutes. So thank you, Susan, for bringing that up. That's a really important topic. Shame is a big one that really causes lots of problems in a relationship, especially when one or the other or both people in a relationship have done things that they feel quote unquote shameful about. That has to be addressed internally so that you release it, so that that doesn't keep causing other external issues in the relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming on closing time. So is there any last questions? Anything else besides spirit mate, twin mate, all that stuff? Any other particular things coming up in a relationship that you want to ask John about, or anything that came up with what we've talked about and you have a question about? Anybody have anything like that? You can either type it into the chat or just unmute yourself if you want to ask anything. Okay, John, do you have?
I would like to say one thing if nobody has a question. There's something you can do every time you feel something from your partner or whoever you want to improve a relationship with that will work for you. And that is just recognize, be mindful of what you're feeling. So you can pretty much say, okay, I'm feeling whatever, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling, somebody throw out share what you're feeling that just comes right to your mind or your heart. Give me something. Shame, it could be rejection, it could be
Bored, feeling bored.
Bored. So then what you should do is say to yourself, is it possible that I am unconscious, that I have this feeling in me and he's just reflecting it back to me? And you'll get a yes. You'll always get a yes. And then say, oh, well, I can be responsible for myself then. And do your work on that boredom or shame or whatever. And then just like Linda said, what will happen is the second you are done healing your own unconscious whatever, your partner will shift at the exact moment, and they are no longer reflecting it back to you. But they never knew they were. They are not conscious of this reflection. And there'll be times when I'm doing this with my spirit mate. The second I'm done, I get a text. I mean, it's just amazing. And she never knew there was a problem because she was just reflecting. So that can cause, this technique will help you so much because you can be in control of your own part of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't need to know because this is just your stuff.
Exactly. And this, they don't need to know, they're not your business, is a huge, it was the biggest shift for me, because actually Richard Rudd teaches this in the Venus sequence. He says, the other partner is not your business. And when you get out of their business and start focusing on your own self, wow, things can change so dramatically. So it really is about, if you're struggling with something and you're thinking it's the relationship and he did this or she did that or whatever that might be, just go inward instead of trying to address it with that person. Go inward and do your own work and see what happens first. Obviously, there are certain things that sometimes clearly need to be talked about, especially if you have children and things like that. But when it comes to, you getting triggered about something, remember, they're not your business. You're your business. And stay inward first with yourself. Do the things you feel guided to do to shift, and then see what happens. And if you feel you truly need to mention something to your partner, then do. But most of the time you don't. It's really interesting. Most of the time we really don't need to mention these things to our partner because it's really our stuff.
It's our stuff.
And all it does is just create issues that weren't there to begin with, because like John said, the partner didn't even know. They're just playing, they're unconsciously being a mirror for you. They don't even know, and then you tell them that they're the problem, and then there's a big argument, I'm not the problem. It's like,
yeah.
wow.
Now, the one exception would be if they are aware that they're feeling somehow different than they normally feel because they're reflecting back to you, then I would say it is the responsible thing to do to say, you know what, I realize that there's something I'm not aware of that I need to deal with. So if you're feeling uncomfortable, just know it's not you, it's me. And that, I mean, they'll be so happy you said that, because if they're really conscious, they're going to feel exactly what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's a mirror back to you, it's good to recognize that it's not for you to worry about. That's for me to take care of.
Right. So you're just acknowledging and owning your own feelings and letting them know that, that they may be feeling something and thinking something's wrong, and you're just saying, I'm working through something right now.
Yeah.
And that way they don't start telling story, because that's what happens in relationship. We each start telling our own stories about each other, and then we create something that didn't even exist before. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, John, for being on this call. I always love talking about this topic with you around relationship, conscious relationship. We're going to be exploring this even further later in the month when we have our second group call with the Academy. Thank you to all the guests that were here today who are trying out the Academy to see if this might be something you want to keep joining. We're going to be doing 2 group calls a month, usually on Wednesdays at noon. They will be recorded. You'll be part of an Academy private Facebook page where I will put up this particular recording so that if you miss something, you can always go back and look at that. I'm going to be featuring all different types of amazing practitioners this year. I'm bringing on some Akashic Record practitioners. I'm going to be bringing on some people who do past life regression. Obviously, we're going to have lots of topics around money and lots of topics around aligning to your higher purpose, opening your gifts. I'm going to have some pretty amazing intuitives coming in to share their love and light with us throughout the year. And on every single call, we're going to have healing work. We're going to have tools. We're going to have all kinds of things that you can take home with you that will then assist you in opening your light and sharing your true authentic self with the rest of the world. So I actually got my I have a Lover's Oracle deck that comes from Salerno. It's a really beautiful deck that's shaped in hearts. And so I actually drew a card for the whole group. And look at what I drew. New beginning. And it says here, a new adventure awaits. Embrace it and live your dreams passionately. So that is the message for everyone today. And then I will be putting this particular video back on our Facebook page for you to re-listen to it if you need to. And for those that may want to join the Academy, I'll be sending out an email, or you can just text me and say, hey, I'm interested, and you can join for the year if you would like. And those that want to dive deeper, I'm going to be doing individual coaching work, transformational sessions with clients. So there's the group work, and then if you want to go deeper, then you get to work with me individually to go deeper around some of the topics we discuss, or some other area in your life that really needs some attention. Because the whole message that we are in right now, from 2019, this year, all the way through 2022, so this is a very critical years. These are like no joking around years, okay? So from 19 to 22, we're in an era of what Patricia Cota-Robles calls higher harmonics. Lee Harris, there's a lot of powerful energy channels out there. They're all saying the same thing. And I've been feeling this too. We are actually we have reached a place of higher harmonics. Everything is elevating, everything. There is nothing on the planet that's not. This is why we're seeing all of these interesting upheavals and chaos going on in the political world and in other countries and in our weather and Mother Earth. We're literally up-leveling to a whole new level of harmonics. So we're being called to think, behave, speak, act in whole new elevated levels. And that includes all of us who are light workers. So if you are on this call, newsflash, you are a light worker. Whether you call yourself that or not, you are. You wouldn't even know me, okay, if you weren't a light worker of some sort, okay? Because I call in people who are here to serve with their light in whatever way they're called. So there's been a huge message coming through these past couple of weeks. And it really is to all light workers. And there's literally millions of us on the planet right now. Millions of us who have come to really help all of the earth raise to the next level of consciousness. And we all are bringing a very specific gift and frequency to the planet that assists that process. So the message that I received a couple of weeks ago was, Linda, you have to start really getting all these light workers that you know out there doing their thing, being seen, giving their service, doing what their heart really wants to do, because that frequency that you hold actually is part of what's going to help the tipping point happen for us between 19 and 22. There's an important tipping point we have to reach as a whole humanity to really step into this next golden age. With full consciousness and love and abundance and all of that. So we're calling all light workers right now to really start moving forward, opening your heart, giving your truth, being authentic, really allowing what wants to come through you in each moment to come through, because it is part of this entire powerful process of this higher era of harmonics that's coming in, this higher elevated way of being, living, thinking. And we are in a very high vibration of manifestation right now. So not only is elevated love possible for all of us, also elevated abundance and prosperity and opportunities are all literally being laid out on a table for us. We have to be willing to step up to the table and pick up what we want and receive it. So it's for us to really embark from a place of our hearts and our true spirit, truly say, okay, spirit, I hear you. I am committed. I'm moving forward. This is scaring the hell out of me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to keep moving forward. And I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be out there authentically giving my light, and the rest will get taken care of. So it's really a time for all of us to get very committed to really owning the light that we are and just letting it emanate in all the different ways that it wants to. The creative way is one of the biggest ways we're being called to emanate our light, is through our creative processes, the things we create, whether it's through music or the arts in any way, or through writing or expression, or through video, or whatever we create through our business. Creativity is the key vehicle through which we're going to literally transform humanity. And we have to let that creative flow come through us in the way that it wants to, in a way that really brings us joy, of course, so that then it is touching all those souls that right now need to wake up and need to jump on board with us. So manifesting is very heightened right now. So warning, 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 be careful what you're thinking, be careful what you're subconsciously thinking, be careful what you are doing, not doing, because it's creating really amplified fields around you, especially as light workers. Okay, so I'm speaking very specifically to all of you, is that you're already amplified fields of energy. You just are. And so if you throw a thought out there, it's going to come back at you in interesting ways if it's not an aligned thought. So this is really important to really stay so conscious. This is why having time to ground, to go into meditation, having some still point moments where you just kind of calm the heart and get still, that's really important to kind of build into your day, so you don't get caught up into the whirlwind of all the stuff that's going on out there in the world. And then you forget who you are, you forget what you're thinking, you forget what you're doing, and then you create a little bit of a mess. But for us, it'll be a big mess, okay? It won't be a little mess because our energies are more amplified. So the messes we create will get bigger and be more difficult to deal with. So it's really important to stay conscious as much as possible, always keeping your thoughts elevated. And I always keep, of course, oracle decks all around, so that whenever I need to shift something, I'll just grab an oracle card and read it. I have books that are very uplifting that I keep around me just to grab and open and read whenever I just need to shift quickly. Of course, doing any kind of movement, stepping outside, those kinds of things are all simple little things you can do to shift energy very quickly. Just getting quiet, closing your eyes, and just breathing slowly shifts energy. Of course, I love yoga. You know, Tina's in the process of becoming a Kundalini yoga instructor as well. She got hooked on it because of me. And so there's all kinds of practices within the yoga world as well that really assist you to really keep your energy aligned, so that you're creating exactly the higher level elevation you want in your life versus the stuff you don't want. So we're now at a point where you don't want to really dwell so much on what you don't want, because that will actually amplify. Instead, you just want to go, okay, I'm already clear what I don't want. I don't even have to think about that. Instead, let me think about what I am wanting to invite in. So think of it as invitation. So it's not even the word wanting, instead invitation. What do I want to invite in? What's the invitation? So I want to invite in more love. I want to invite in more alignment with my relationships. I want to invite in more expansion in my love relationships. I want to invite in more exploration, more curiosity. So it's an invitation now. So the energy is about inviting, and not focusing on, oh, I don't want that. Instead, just invite what you do want, and this new frequency will just replace the old one you didn't want. So you don't even have to worry about that. You just invite. So I hope all of these fun little messages and tools will help you as you move through February in this new energy of elevated love and higher harmonics. And we will come back again on, I think, Wednesday, the 27th of February for our next group call, where we're going to be doing some more direct work on relationships, and we're going to be kind of doing some deeper dives around our unconscious and the ways that we're blocking ourselves from really that deeper aspect of self-love. So we're going to be shifting some issues around self-image that tend to create situations in relationship that really don't serve. And it has all to do with the way you perceive yourself. So we're going to be working with that more on the 27th. So anyway, thank you, John, so much for coming on and sharing your heart and your wisdom with us today. Thank you to everybody that was on today for all your questions and all of the beautiful things that you shared. Somebody asked about this deck. This is the Lover's Oracle by Salerno. And so they have these beautiful pictures on one side, and on the other side they have a beautiful message. So this message says, you may not always understand why certain things happen. However, there is always a higher purpose to the events in your life. Through turmoil, a blessing will soon be revealed. So that was no mistake, I drew that one. So anyway, I'm going to sign off with everybody saying thank you so much for all of you who joined us today, and I hope to see all of you back on the 27th Bye. Thank you to our guests. Thank you for Lena and Lita that were here. Stacy, who was here. We had some other people on the phone who I don't know who's on the phone because I don't see your name. But welcome to you. Katie, Susan, Africa. Who else was here? Tina, Stacy. I already said everybody. Okay. Well, goodbye, everybody. Mwah. Thank you, John. You have a very blessed, amazing, happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. I'm going to be at Opa's from 1 to 4:30. So if you want to just stop by and join me for some tea or some coffee, because I'm just going to hang out there for my birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
So, thank you. So y'all have a beautiful, happy, amazing Valentine's Day filled with lots of love for yourself first, okay? And then everybody else. Talk to you soon. Bye. Everyone.